Welcome to the Crime O'Clock, where we dive into the shadows of history's most chilling crimes, uncovering stories that linger long after the clock stops ticking. Today, we're stepping into a world where trust turned deadly, where a sacred figure became a monster, and where the line between spirituality and savagery blurred beyond recognition. This is the story of Bun Pang, known as Boonpeng Heep Lek, or Iron Chest Bun Pang, Thailand's first documented serial killer, a Buddhist monk whose crime shocked a nation and left a legacy of fear that endures to this day. It's January 1918, and the Chao Phraya River flows quietly through Nonthaburi, Thailand. Fishermen glide across its surface, their nets cast wide, hoping for a good catch. The morning air is heavy with mist, the kind that clings to your skin and whispers of secrets. Then one of them spots it, a large iron chest, bobbing unnaturally in the current. It's not driftwood or debris. It's heavy, ornate, the kind of chest wealthy families use to guard their treasures. Intrigued, they haul it ashore, their hands trembling with anticipation. Could it be gold? Jewels? They pry open the rusted lid, and what spills out is no treasure. It's a nightmare. The dismembered body of a young woman, her limbs severed with surgical precision, her organs slipping from their places, tangled in a mosquito net. Bricks are packed tightly around her, meant to drag her to the river's depths, to hide her forever. The fishermen stagger back, their screams echoing across the water, as the truth dawns. Someone wanted this woman erased. This gruesome discovery was just the beginning. It would lead authorities to Bun Pang, a monk whose soft voice and serene smile masked a heart of pure darkness. He wasn't just a killer. He was a predator who used his holy robes to lure his victims, exploiting their trust in the most sacred of institutions. Over the next 2 hours, we'll unravel every layer of this haunting tale, from Bun Pang's troubled beginnings to his reign of terror, from the desperate hunt to stop him to the chilling execution that ended his life. We'll explore the cultural and psychological forces that shaped him, the victims whose lives he stole, and the ghostly legends that keep his name alive in Thailand's folklore. How did a man sworn to compassion become a butcher? What drove him to murder again and again? And why do some believe his spirit still watches from the shadows? This isn't just a story of crime. It's a journey into betrayal, greed, and the terrifying power of charisma. So grab a drink, dim the lights, and prepare to lose yourself in the chilling saga of the serial killer monk. Stick with us, because you won't believe how this unfolds. What's the creepiest true crime story you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments below, and let's see if Bun Pang's tale tops it. To understand the monster Bun Pang became, we need to start at the beginning, in a world far removed from the blood-soaked iron chests. Born in 1890 in the Yuthan, a dusty village in Thailand's Nakhon Phanom province, Bun Pang entered life with the odds stacked against him. His father was Chinese, his mother Lao, and their union gave him a striking appearance, sharp features, piercing eyes, a face that would later make women weak at the knees. But tragedy struck early. At just 5 years old, he lost both parents, though the details of their deaths are lost to history. Orphaned, he was sent to Bangkok's Bang Khun from district, where his grandparents, Suk and Pien, took him in. They weren't wealthy, but they poured every ounce of love into raising him, treating him like their own son. They gave him food, shelter, and a roof over his head, but Bun Pang was no ordinary child. Even as a boy, he had a charm that disarmed everyone, a smile that could melt doubts, a voice that soothed worries. Yet, beneath that charm was a troubling trait, laziness. He dodged chores, shirked work in the fields, and seemed content to coast on his grandparents' generosity. By his teens, Bun Pang's charm had grown into something magnetic. Women noticed him, men envied him, and he knew it. But it wasn't just attention he craved, it was control. Around this time, he stumbled into a world that would define his dark path, black magic. In early 20th century Thailand, superstition wasn't just a belief, it was a way of life. Villagers whispered of spirits lurking in the trees, curses that could ruin lives, and spells that could bend hearts. Bun Pang was captivated. He sought out an old man near a temple in Ruam, a master of the occult who taught him the secrets of love potions, charms, and rituals. These weren't just parlor tricks, they were tools of power, believed to make people fall hopelessly in love or obey without question. Bun Pang soaked it up, spending hours memorizing incantations, mixing herbs, and practicing spells. His grandparents noticed a change. He'd mumble strange words, his eyes distant, as if possessed by something they couldn't understand. Frightened, they confronted him, begging him to abandon this dangerous path. But Bun Pang was hooked, and when they threatened to kick him out, he left without looking back. At 20, he made a choice that stunned those who knew him. He became a monk at Wat Ted Kung Chan, a temple nestled in the heart of Bangkok. In Thai culture, monks are more than religious figures. They're moral beacons, living by strict Buddhist principles like celibacy, humility, and compassion. For Bun Pang, it seemed like a chance to reinvent himself, to trade his troubled past for respectability. Or perhaps it was a calculated move to gain trust and power. At the temple, his charisma worked wonders. Worshippers, especially women, flocked to him, drawn by his soft voice and striking looks. He didn't just give sermons. He offered something more: love spells, potions, blessings that promised to fix broken hearts or win new ones. His reputation grew, and so did his following. Women from all walks of life, poor, wealthy, young, old, lined up to see the monk who could work miracles. But Bun Pang wasn't living up to his vows. Behind closed doors, he was breaking the most sacred rule of all: celibacy. He began affairs with his followers, using his spiritual authority to lure them into his bed. This wasn't just a sin. It was a betrayal of everything a monk stood for. Word of his behavior spread, and the temple's abbot had no choice but to act. Bun Pang was expelled, his robe stripped away, his reputation tarnished. But he wasn't done. With nowhere else to go, he walked straight to Wat Satat, one of Bangkok's most prestigious temples, its golden spires a symbol of reverence. He begged the head abbot for a second chance, promising to live as a true monk. His charm worked again. The abbot relented, and Bun Pang donned the robes once more. But any hope of reform was a lie. At Wat Satat, he doubled down on his vices. By day, he played the holy man. By night, he ran an illegal casino in the monks' quarters, gambled with stolen money, and continued his affairs. For 9 years, he lived this double life, his charisma shielding him from suspicion. But beneath the surface, something darker was brewing, a hunger that would soon turn deadly. Bun Pang's descent into murder began in 1917, and it was as calculated as it was brutal. His first known victim was New York Liam, a jewelry seller who came to Wat Satat to do business. She was in her late 30s, a single mother who'd built a modest but successful trade in gold and gems. New York Liam had heard of Bun Pang's reputation, not as a killer, but as a monk with magical powers. She sought him out, hoping for a blessing to boost her business, or perhaps a love spell to mend her lonely heart. Bun Pang saw something else: opportunity. Her jewelry glittered with promise, and her trust in him was absolute. He invited her to his quarters, promising a private ritual. What happened next is chilling. As New York Liam knelt in prayer, Bun Pang slipped behind her, his hands closing around her throat. She struggled, but his grip was relentless. Within minutes, she was gone. He didn't stop there. With the precision of a butcher, he dismembered her body, severing her limbs and torso into 8 pieces. He wrapped the remains in a mosquito net, packed them into an iron chest with bricks to weigh it down, and ordered his disciples, 2 young men named Cheran and Charoen, to haul it to the Chao Phraya River. They dumped it in the dead of night, believing it would sink forever. But the river betrayed him. In May 1917, fishermen found the chest, its contents spilling out in a grotesque display. The police were baffled. Murders like this were unheard of in Bangkok, and the idea of a monk being involved was unthinkable. With no leads, the case went cold, and Bun Pang walked free. Emboldened, he killed again, and again. Over the next year, at least 4 more iron chests surfaced in the river, each containing the dismembered body of a woman. The victims were often wealthy or socially prominent, drawn to Bun Pang for his supposed spiritual gifts. Some sought love spells, others wanted blessings for prosperity. Each trusted him, and each paid with her life. One victim's story stands out. Prick, a 20-year-old woman whose beauty and kindness were known throughout her village. Prick was married to a wealthy but neglectful man, Kanikati, who spent more time with his mistress than with her. Desperate to win back his love, she turned to Bun Pang, believing his potions could mend her marriage. But Bun Pang had other plans. He saw her wealth, gold necklaces, family heirlooms, and her vulnerability. He seduced her, promising a future together. Prick fell hard, unaware of his other lovers or his deadly intentions. When she became pregnant and believed the child was his, she demanded he take responsibility. To Bun Pang, she wasn't a lover or a mother-to-be. She was a threat. He invited her to the temple one last time, claiming he'd return her necklace. As they sat together, her guard down, he struck. He strangled her with his bare hands, her pleas fading into silence. Like the others, he dismembered her, packed her into an iron chest, and dumped it in the river. Her unborn child died with her, a tragedy that would haunt her family for generations. Bun Pang's murders followed a pattern. Lure, kill, dismember, dispose. He targeted women who trusted him, exploiting their faith in his spiritual authority. He stole their valuables, gold, jewelry, money, before erasing them from existence. His motives were a toxic blend of greed, lust, and a need for control. As a monk, he held a position of near untouchable power in Thai society, and he wielded it like a weapon. The iron chests, heavy and ornate, were his signature, chosen to sink his crimes to the river's depths. But the river kept giving up his secrets, and soon, the whispers of a killer monk began to spread. How would you react if you trusted someone like Bun Pang, only to learn their true nature? Share your thoughts in the comments. The discovery of the first iron chest in January 1918 sent shockwaves through Bangkok. The police were out of their depth. Serial murder was a new concept, and the idea that a monk could be responsible was beyond comprehension. The bodies were often too decomposed to identify, and the iron chests, designed to vanish beneath the current, left few clues. Investigators scoured the riverbanks, questioned fishermen, and appealed to the public, but leads were scarce. The city was gripped by fear. Someone was hunting women, and no one knew who or why. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, Prick's mother. Heartbroken by her daughter's disappearance, she came forward with a devastating clue. Prick had received a letter from Bun Pang, asking her to meet him at Wat Satat to retrieve a gold necklace. She never returned. The mother's story was a bombshell. Bun Pang, the charming monk, was now a suspect. His reputation was already tarnished. Rumors of his casino affairs and black magic had spread through Bangkok's temples. But murder? That was a leap even the police hesitated to make. They began watching him, tracking his movements and interviewing his followers. They learned that many of the victims had visited him before vanishing. Witnesses recalled seeing iron chests in his quarters, 7 in total, though only 5 bodies were ever found. The police faced a challenge. Bun Pang's status as a monk made him untouchable in the eyes of many. To accuse him without evidence was to risk outrage. They needed something concrete. In August 1919, they got it. A rickshaw driver came forward, claiming he'd been hired by Bun Pang's disciples to transport a heavy iron chest to the river. The driver's testimony was the key they needed. On the day of Bun Pang's wedding to another woman, Tat, the police made their move. In a scene straight out of a thriller, they stormed Wat Satat during the ceremony, handcuffing Bun Pang as guests gasped in disbelief. His calm demeanor cracked, but only slightly. He smirked as they led him away, as if he believed he'd escape. Under interrogation, Bun Pang initially denied everything, his voice steady, his eyes unyielding, but the evidence was overwhelming. The rickshaw driver's story, stolen jewelry found in his quarters, and the unmistakable pattern of the iron chests. Finally, he confessed to 5 murders, including New York Liam and Prick. He described the killings in chilling detail, how he lured his victims with promises of spiritual help, how he killed them without hesitation, how he dismembered them with the butcher's precision. He showed no remorse, no regret, only a cold satisfaction in his control. The police suspected more victims. Those 7 chests haunted their investigation, but Bun Pang never admitted to more than 5. Bun Pang's trial in 1919 was a spectacle unlike any Bangkok had seen. The courtroom was packed with onlookers, villagers, monks, reporters, all eager to see the monk who'd betrayed his sacred vows. The prosecution laid out a damning case. Witness testimonies, stolen valuables, the rickshaw driver's account, and Bun Pang's own confession. They painted him as a predator who used his position to exploit vulnerable women, robbing them of their lives and their dignity. The defense had little to offer. Bun Pang's charm couldn't sway a judge. He was found guilty on all counts: 5 murders, robbery, and desecration of his monastic role. The sentence was death by beheading, a punishment reserved for the worst offenders. On August 19, 1919, Bun Pang was taken to Bangkok prison for Thailand's last public execution. Thousands gathered, a sea of faces filled with anger, fear, and morbid curiosity. Bun Pang stood tied to a wooden pole, his expression eerily calm. He claimed his black magic would protect him, whispering incantations as the executioner raised his sword. According to legend, the first swing failed. The blade, razor-sharp, seemed to dull against his neck. The crowd gasped, some whispering of dark spells. The executioner leaned in, demanding Bun Pang remove whatever protected him. He spat out a small black Buddha amulet, and the second swing severed his head. Blood soaked the ground, and his body slumped, lifeless. Folklore tells a stranger tale. Some claimed his lips moved even after death, as if casting one final spell. Others swore they felt a chill in the air, a sign his spirit wasn't ready to leave. To prevent his ghost from seeking revenge, locals built a shrine near the execution site, leaving offerings of flowers and incense. The execution marked a turning point. Thailand abolished public beheadings soon after, moving toward a more modern justice system. But Bun Pang's name lived on, a symbol of betrayal and terror. Do you think public executions, like Bun Pang's, were justice or horror shows? Let us know in the comments. Bun Pang's crimes didn't just claim lives. They shook the foundations of Thai society. In a country where monks are seen as moral pillars, his actions were a betrayal of trust. People began to question the sanctity of the saffron robe. How could a monk, bound by vows of compassion, commit such atrocities? Temples tightened their oversight, and communities grew wary of spiritual leaders. The case exposed a painful truth. Even the most revered could hide darkness. Superstition played a massive role in the fallout. Bun Pang's obsession with black magic, love spells, curses, and rituals tapped into Thailand's deep-rooted beliefs. His claim of magical protection during his execution only fueled fears. After his death, stories spread of his vengeful spirit haunting the Chao Phraya River. Fishermen reported strange sightings, shadows in the water, whispers in the night. The shrine built to appease him became a focal point for locals, who left offerings to keep his ghost at bay. In Thai folklore, those who die violently or with unresolved karma can become malevolent spirits, and Bun Pang's shrine reflects this belief. It's a place of fear and respect, where people seek protection from the very man who once terrorized them. The case also highlighted the vulnerability of women in early 20th century Thailand. Bun Pang's victims were often desperate, seeking love, security, or hope, and he exploited their trust. His crimes sparked conversations about the power dynamics between spiritual leaders and their followers, especially women. It was a wake-up call, urging society to protect the vulnerable and hold authority figures accountable. Bun Pang's story became a cautionary tale, passed down through generations. It warned against blind faith, the allure of charisma, and the dangers of superstition. Even today, the shrine stands as a reminder of his crimes, a place where fear and reverence collide. What drove Bun Pang to kill? To answer that, we need to peer into his psyche. He displayed classic traits of a psychopath: a lack of empathy, superficial charm, and a need for control. His charisma was his greatest weapon, allowing him to manipulate victims and evade suspicion. As a monk, He held a position of power that made his crimes almost unthinkable. People trusted him implicitly, and he used that trust to destroy them. His fascination with black magic suggests a deeper psychological need. In Thai culture, such practices are believed to grant power over others, and Bun Pang may have seen himself as untouchable, a godlike figure bending others to his will. This belief could have fueled his confidence, convincing him he'd never be caught. His lack of remorse during his confession, describing murders with cold detachment, points to a chilling absence of guilt. Comparing him to other Thai serial killers offers insight. Samkit Pumpuang, known as Kid the Ripper, killed masseuses in 2005, using charm to gain their trust. Sararat Rangsawathaporn, dubbed AM Cyanide, poisoned friends for money in the 2020s. Like Bun Pang, they thrived on deception, but his monastic status set him apart. No other killer hid behind such a sacred facade, making his betrayal uniquely shocking. Was Bun Pang born evil, or did his choices shape him? His orphan childhood and exposure to black magic may have planted seeds of darkness, but his actions were deliberate. He chose to exploit, to kill, to betray. His story forces us to ask, what happens when power and charisma fall into the wrong hands? Was Bun Pang born evil, or did his choices make him a monster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. As we close this journey into the dark heart of Bun Pang, the serial killer monk, let's reflect on what we've learned. This isn't just a tale of murder. It's a story of shattered trust, cultural upheaval, and the enduring grip of fear. Bun Pang's crimes forced Thailand to confront the fragility of faith and the dangers of unchecked power. His victims, New York Liam, Prick, and others, were more than names. They were women with dreams, stolen by a man they trusted. The iron chests, the shrine, the whispers of his spirit, they're reminders that evil can wear the face of holiness. More than a century later, Bun Pang's name still sends shivers down spines. His story lives on in Thai folklore, a warning against blind devotion and the seductive pull of charisma. It challenges us to look beyond appearances, to question those who claim authority, and to remember the victims whose lives were cut short. If this tale gripped you, please like and subscribe to the Crime O'Clock for more true crime stories that peel back the layers of history's darkest moments. Your support keeps this channel ticking, and if you'd like to help us bring you more, check out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. Thank you for joining me on this chilling ride, and until next time, keep your eyes open. The clock is always ticking. What shocked you most about Bun Pang's story? Share it in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going.